Hamburg with Allied, like 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's quite interesting. If it's 2 years ago and you guys are back now here, I mean...
They can't get rid of us.
No, they must like you.
It's the wonderful hospitality
And
we've
you
received.
I
love it here. It's great. It's fantastic. I love all the set and the fun little video. The bands come through. The first removal is a Jackal. Hey, I'm going to throw back, but to your memory, do you remember at the start of the day when we were talking about Bank and you said Jackal would be a good removal?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Jackal is literally the operator that could help you clear out roamers really quickly. And we did see Secret use that Jackal almost every single round to track down defenders, to get a quick map control or at least the top floor and then go down to the bottom floor. So having cowana ban out that Jackal is going to help massively in their roams because it allows to move them around more freely. Obviously, you have rotations that you still might worry about, but you won't have someone tracking you down as easily, which is great.
It's Bank has a lot of space, and Bank has a lot of possibility for defenders to sort of cause problems. And the game that we saw earlier on today, it went pretty well into the attackers. It was quite a big lockdown in terms of getting a hold of those players on the top. And as you said, Jackal was a big consistent part of that for what was Secret's really, really well put together intel game. And the response from Vitality was... none. Nothing was really being led in to battle back against that intel game. They tried to play the Vigil and it had mixed success, but still, it didn't quite have the full effect. And here, removing that operator, removing that little thread of intel might be the pull, and the rug and the jumper might all fall apart. Staff and Open is where we're going to open this showdown with Secret once again leading on their attacks.
Ooh, I was going to point out the Vigil and be like, oh, yeah, they're bringing the Vigil as well for the roam. But obviously, it's that Caster's Curse coming in where they straight away 6-pick that Vigil into a mirror. First time we've seen the mirror being burned out today. She was banned a few maps before, I think. But obviously, a really strong operator if you can hold on to the top floor potentially longer. If you're looking at a team like Secret, they might want to take control over a part of the map like Square. If you have some mirror windows on the CEO lounge and you're holding off the angles all the way to Square, it'll be much harder for attackers to gain control over that area, or even onto the site.
Now, as we find ourselves quickly going into this, we'll just once again say that this is not the death match. This is the security of the final. You are the first finalist team to make it out of this into the best of 5 tomorrow. What does that get you? Well, I'll tell you. A break in the morning so you can watch the final game played out, and also the map pick preference. So we are playing the full stretch of a best of 5 tomorrow, but if you watched recently in the EUL finals, there was a difference in how the map ban played out, where the team that got there from the upper bracket not only got to choose the very first map, but they also then got to ban the very first map as well, which is such a great tactical part.
And that's the difference between a best of 3 and a best of 5, because in a best of 3 you start banning maps, but in a best of 5 you start by picking a map. So you can secure a map that you really want to play against your enemies, and definitely have an upper hand on that map.
That's it, and then you get the choice of either removing your opponent's best map that they're going to pick, or just remove your worst, and it just gives you such a good lead in. And here, as the approach once again comes over the top, this intel game I talked about before is trying to find its way through that drone. Well, it was a pest that was played off at that point. The grenade doesn't quite get the catch. They're playing it at arm's reach. You can see, obviously, the lock in there on Janitors by Benja is going to be a bit of a strong struggle position for them to try and pull him out of. He has the hatch, he has an escape, and he has 2 reinforcements. It's about wasting a bit of time. He's done just that. They're going to have to go and re-drone that now, and, well, it's a big blow as Gorgona is the next to slip his way down. Just past the top of White, can't quite find the fight.
Yeah, the players have exited the top floor quite quickly, I would say, and once again you 30 invest around lobby, but no one really taking it. Sloth, though, with the opening kill onto Packbull. There's a line off the board, and no more EE1Ds that'll be used during this round. Like I said, in the literally around lobby site, players of Secret, like in their last map, aren't really that greedy of taking the lobby control, but that mirror window might come in handy if Kendrew doesn't create a long line of sight right onto that mirror window. We'll open at the hatch to open area though, and clear all the remaining utility above. Top 4 control is now fully in their hands, so they can start working on those verticals where they brought the sledge for.
Now, Packbull going down first is a bit of a loss because, well, it's a huge bit of utility, but also a huge player. He was a large driving factor towards the opening half on Secret, and White was successful last time before. There goes the mirror window into the bottom of the box. It means that pillar position is a bit harder, as that is the general way teams are trying to drive themselves into this site. You can sort of get yourself the top-down control, push the players into a more uncomfortable position, and take the fights via sort of less danger. You don't have to move around the big lobby where you never really know where you're going to be dropped from. Here, pushing Grizzly further and further back against the big wall as Keenan eyes it up at 45 seconds. They've got to start trying to find their way through what is still a hard wall.
And Grizzly doesn't have the C4 either, so Sloth picks up one more kill onto Comfy, 2 for himself so far in that round, and it can't seem to get him out of that Teller's Archives area where he's been holding onto his mirror window. 3 players left on the side of Secret, and they have that top 4 control, but no breach onto the side of Cafeteria either. One player still around Archives, waiting for someone to come down these square stairs. Will do so, but will actually not win the gunfight. And Urkit goes down as well. So a tactical 3v2 situation, make it a 2v2 situation as Gorgona goes really low on HP too.
Too little, too time, too late might be the breakdown as they're going to try and get some cover, but the cover comes from a gun on the opposite side. The Maestro cam means all of this is going checked, and, well, it just takes a player to swing round, and it's going to be Sloth that does that. Cowana win the first round here, the opening defense, and as we sort of saw there, the trickle of intel stopping and the approach was hit on that hard wall. They just didn't have the position, and that final 30 seconds, it turned into a little bit of a mad dash of, we got to get on site.
Yeah, I'll say I was a bit concerned when I saw all the Cowana players drop to the middle floor already with only 1 minute played and no real gunfights being contested on the top floor. But we did have Sloth with the mirror windows towards lobby. He was able to pick up 2 kills there, and having someone in Tellers assist him when that person actually came down the square stairs. I mean, obviously it takes time to go into that gunfight. You have some kind of indication that someone is coming down those square stairs. But like you said, the mirror window was open, but no breach or anything onto the side. The double door to Cafeteria was open, but then you have so much utility that you still have to deal with, like the Evil Eyes, like all the players still on the other side, creating those long lines of sight right onto your plant position. This wasn't enough time.
That's it, all out of time, and the soft door there being a big proponent of that too. But here, as we find ourselves heading down towards the basement, we're going to see that reinforcement across the top once again with the mirror window. It is this operator that gives you so much extension when it's on the board. It allows you to get a lot more pressure onto sites itself, and to be fair, with the way that they're setting up this hold on blue, it's not the most common with so much utility dedicated around open as well. It might force Secret into a more tricky situation, or it might give them a little bit more of an idea of where else they can go. The castle gives you that safety around the top of the green stairs potentially too, and it just allows Sloth to be a bit of a bastion here and defend what is now open hatches.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing for Sloth is that the players of Secret have a drone right behind the printer. They're actually able to spot a lot of open area as well as Cafeteria, so Sloth won't be hidden in that position for much longer. Once again, an upstairs defense we're seeing, and also seeing the Dokubi being brought out, so that should potentially make it easier for the players of Secret to deal with that top 4 control or track down these players on the side of Cowana. I don't think they were very much aware of Sloth being in Tellers to begin with, or the fact that there was a player on Archives who swung them and came down on the square stairs.
This is the approach Gonfi needs to make. Cut themselves right through this open end and just find that rotate there on the top of the hatch. That is the pressure point towards the hold that Sloth is in, because you cut off his rotations that are clean and trustworthy, and you also make sure if he goes anywhere, he's marked and marred, and the first 2 go off the board, which means he's in an even trickier situation. Benja and Grizzly off quite quick here, and that's still 1:50, and you compare it with the hold that we saw before, where they dropped off by this point and found themselves back towards site. Here, different story, and Gorgona has to rotate round because you sort of have to at least take some blood up here, and none of it is yours. Another one lost behind that lobby. Sloth, again, as I said, this rotate is a dangerous one. He could pop the hatch if he wanted to and see if he can find his way downstairs, but with how open everything is, you let it go and you might as well just hand over the site.
And this gives us great opportunities for the attackers, because the 2 players that were eliminated first were 2 of the 3 C4 players. So when they're going to go for a plant around that locker CCTV area, you can't necessarily stop them, or you have to face check them. So you only have 1 of the C4s left now, which you can probably bait out if you are Secret, and you still have 5 attackers on the board. However, time is something that they need to keep in mind. Only 1 minute remaining. Trying to find Sloth by throwing some C4s in, or some grenades in this detection. It's actually Sloth to win the gunfight versus Gomfi, but gets raided out quite quickly by Kenju, and Nurkic now finds himself in a 1v4 situation.
Well, he's a little bit familiar with being the last player alive, but a 4 versus 1 with 40 seconds, you assume this is going Secret's way, unless they can pull out something that is pretty atrocious, more than an Arctic, something insane. The C4 over the top does catch. I thought they were just able to slip away, but an Arctic finds the first and finds a bit of a rotate up top. He's going to see if he can cause a little bit of damage elsewhere, but look, no one has the diffuser on Secret's side at this moment in time, and that could be a big blow because they have to go for the recollect. There it is. The beepers give a bit of the game away, and Keenan even is like, I'm out of here. Don't need to play this game. 15 seconds. We got to get this down to sight, because if we find ourselves caught by the lack of time, that's the nightmare. The cover comes over this opener, and there it is. The pickup for Kendrew just at the last second, swap to the right place, and it's one apiece.
Yeah, I almost thought that Kendrew wasn't going to be aware of the rotating mirror right there, but you needed to probably hear the mirror sprinting past around Teller, so was able to switch his attention. 1-1 right now. I mean, Secret had a pretty good attack in half on Bank. They were able to clear out roamers and everything quite effectively, and now that they don't have a Jekyll, I think they're picking the Dokkaebi. I mean, we saw it in the second round, and now initiated in this third round as well, to track down defenders easier. They did manage to get that opening kill in this round, two actually, which puts the defenders on a back foot quite early if you already lose 2 of your 3 C4 players.
Secret were dedicated. Secret saw that there was this huge presence on the top 2 floors. They saw that there was this roam game, and instead of deciding to go for this sort of stylish push towards the site itself, went, well, we can shut this down, because what Secret do very well, as demonstrated early today, is a roam clear on Bank. With or without Jackal, it was a great lead-in. There was roamers to find, and they found them and dealt with them very quickly. Even in the Sloth situation, when they're in this sort of 5 versus 2, you're looking at them still going, okay, well, let's position here and make sure that we get the kill on Sloth. Let's not leave a loose end whilst we know we can mop it up. And that sort of play against those bigger, bolder holds that cowana like to do is going to be something where if it's a repeated story, you assume more of those are going to go into Secret's favor.
Yeah, you're saying bigger and bolder holes. So what I hope for this side is that they have the 2 C4 players play downstairs, where they can throw the C4s up whenever the attackers are going to go for a plant. But some they have a mirror window facing the front office, and it seems that Secret keeps on bringing that switch, which is great counter to the mirror windows because you can shoot open the canister with the shock drone. But only in the first round they were able to manage one of those mirror windows. After that, I think both of the mirror windows in the second round still stayed up for the defenders, but this time their attack looks a little bit different. Once again, like we saw in the previous match, we find the players of Secret rappelling on the northern side of the windows. Looking to get rid of the castle barricades. They have some Gone 6, they have nades and everything to get rid of those barricades to create a nice line of sight and cross of potential rotates for defenders.
Over the top is where the steady incline is going to come through here, as Sleben is going to see what they can catch on the backside. The Twitch drone gets a little bit of intel, gets a lot of it caught, and the Mute Jammer is able to stop that roll before it becomes a little bit of pressure onto that mirror window. It's an important one to protect. That janitor's box is such a big defensive pin for the rest of the site to be held together. If it gets pulled apart with something as simple as a Twitch drone getting through, then you probably have bigger problems, especially when you have that backline just around stock as well. It's tiered, sure, but it means you're in a retake, and that's going to be a good opener for them as Sloth, once again, finds Gomfy.
Yeah, exactly. Important kill they get right here, because that's no more nades on the board for Yana. We do know Yana has a Gone 6, so she can open up those castle barricades. Skeeten, however, gets a grenade kill onto Benja, and that was one of the players around stock. Sloth gets taken out by Packbull as well, so a disadvantage on the side of cowana. They still have Gorgona sitting around the stock office with a shield, kind of contesting that hallway right until Janitors, but I feel like Janitors is kind of on access now by the players of cowana. They don't have access to that mirror window anymore, which means they can get rid of the mirror window. The players of Secret can in that case, and they can start rappelling in or getting control of Square. Also, the Dokkaebi call will let them know there's one player still in stock, but it's Gorgona to win the gunfight from Packbull, as he does drop down to a safer spot in open area.
It was a bit of a tricky one there. He went for the pre-fire, and it worked like traces for Gorgona to swing on that corner, an important part, but Keenan pulls it back. He's been a big driving force, and you've got to look at the fact that Grizzly hasn't quite been able to connect with this game as well, and Arkic's kills, they came when he was in this pretty tricky situation. So, whilst it's a little bit more balanced, can they bring just a little bit more of that balance back? There it is, Arctic steps it up and steps it into a 2 versus 2, waiting for the swing in on the windows and finds it. A huge take, round on the back, doing everything to clean him up in Janitors, but it's Keenan with a triple, a 1 versus 1. The diffuser is close, but oh no, who's that? It's Grizzly on the Echo. All it takes is 1 drone, 1 position, and 1 swing round. There's no reveal, there's no place, there's barely any time. He has the diffuser back, but you assume it's the Echo drones to win either side of a castle. and that is around to cowana.
Oh no, he was just toying around with the Echo Drone, wasn't he? Just trying to make sure they couldn't shoot it under the castle barricade, on the other side of the castle barricade. And I think a very pivotal part of that defense was the fact that cowana was able to retake their control of that mirror window in Janitors. You pointed it out earlier in the round how big of an important spot that Janitor area is, because that basically stops the players from rappelling in. And that's exactly what we saw the SMG-11 player in Janitors do. He was able to stop 2 players rappelling in from those northern windows, and actually was able to drop the diffuser down there too. It's okay that you have the Echo in the last situation if you lose that final gunfight as the mute in Janitors, because the diffuser was, you had to retake it as Secret being, and you have to plan, and that's really a difficult thing to do against an Echo.
Back to open. Back to the site that opened this all up, and it was a good surprise opening here. How many times can I say that word? Well, at least one more, because it could be the opener of a bit of a Secret resurgence. They were close that round, and it was a clever play by Grizzly to drop down, go as far away from the fight as possible after baiting an engagement and sitting back on your utility. It's something that, you know, you can sometimes see, especially in a UL, that keeps setting these up. Echo has been a consistent thorn in so many teams' sides, and it's something that Kendra is more than aware of, because how many times has he done that to his opponents?
I think interesting this time they're not bringing the mirror anymore. The mirror has shown like a strong factor for cowana so far in this game. This time they're allowing Sloth to play the castle, which once again, we saw players of Secret try and contest control into Tellers where Sloth was located. This time we can castle barricade a few doorways up to make it more difficult for players of Secret to actually get some footing on the map around the lobby site, around this long hallway site. Also, Gorgona finds himself now on the top floor, so there is some top floor presence that we do so much need against the players like Secret that are good at this type of roam clear. So I would reckon the players of Secret are now going to take that top floor control, they're going to go to square, they're going to rappel on the windows and everything, just to make sure they get rid of that singular player upstairs in the elevators.
Clarity seems to be the idea of the drive-in here, and obviously cowana opened it up well before, but Secret, they're going to see if they can try and get some clarity over the positioning that's being held. They have this wide roam, they have this drop-down game, but it seems like they're not going to lean into it as strictly here. A lot of pre-prep work is going in from the side of Secret. They're going to see if they can get a bit more of a safer interlude before it becomes a little bit more of an aggressive firefight across the top. There's the one player that's revealed and dropped the Twitch drone and drops their way out of town. This is it. They pushed them back, but last time we were here, it was a little bit sooner from Secret previously.
Yeah, and the good thing is that Castle Barricade on the lobby double door obviously assisted Gorgona in being able to drop as well. Because if that Castle Barricade was open and someone would be in lobby, they'd have an easy line of sight onto that player dropping. Because I do think Secret's aware of him already dropped out of elevator, so now taking that control over the top floor, you already see the Sledge making some vertical lines of sight. An essential part of their attack right now would be to track down Gorgona, but this time they don't have the Jackal, which helped them so much in their previous game to track down all these defenders, so it'll come down to droning and making sure you get the information. Gorgona was actually misspotted, but still went to shoot the drone and drops all the way to the bottom floor to initiate a flank maybe later on.
That's it. That's the position we're seeing Gorgona in now. He's just wasting so much time, and they've got to be so cautious of somebody coming up round on the back of blue. It's a massive strike, which, to be fair, we saw in the game that Secret played that kept them in Tier 1 was that exact lockdown from that opposite side of the stairs. And Arkic is doing everything he can, and he's doing just enough as he keeps that a more impassable barricade there. Most of the pellets taken care of, but Kendra uses it, as we know from Emzo. Holes, they go both ways. And this time it's Kendra that finds that punishment across the board and the bow of cowana, but 40 seconds, and they still don't have a big solid wall open, but at least they now have themselves swinging onto the site. It's locked down. A rotate round to the other open window, and here we go as we're about to have what is this final swing round. The call, the drop, Sloth locked in, having a huge game so far. Kendra has an instant response, and it's dropped on the open window. One more for Sloth. He's trying to find a fight on every angle. They find him instead, and Gorgona. He was the long lost story down in blue, but he is not having a happy end. 2 for 2.
Yeah, they were very much aware of Gorgona coming back up on these blue stairs. The smoke canister doesn't help either. The smoke grenade doesn't help either for your visibility when you're sprinting back up and you have no idea someone's holding your line of sight straight to the stairs where you're coming back up from. So I think this is a proper execute we saw from Secret. It was very unfortunate for them that all the Hibana pellets got destroyed, or most of them got destroyed by the impact grenades, but that singular peeky was still enough to get rid of the Maestro. And Eventually, having that sledge still in play really helped them to open up the castle barricade and gave them an entry onto the site. A lot of information we do see coming out from cowana time and time again. They bring out that Meister, they have the yellow pings of where these attackers might be, but they're just not able to lock down their defensive positions so they can pick multiple gunfights. They're just being picked apart by how Secret setting up their attack.
I think what I liked there and what was different there was Secret didn't get blinkered by the idea of chasing those Roam players. They cleared themselves the space they needed, and they made sure they at least attempted to do something with it. Okay, they didn't quite get the wall open, but look at the difference of being able to have a bit of pressure on that site before, and importantly, look at where it forced cowana to have to go. They couldn't quite have the solidity lockdown. They couldn't quite have that confidence, and though the previous attempt was a 2 versus 2 when it came down to the push, if you're still trying to get structure done during that final 15 seconds, it's usually all she wrote. So, different story. As I said, it might be the start of a build here for Secret. If they can try and pip some more of these attacks into their favor, well, to be honest, they're sort of batting for average of what this map can offer.
Yeah, and so far it's been a really close game. What we've seen in the game before is that one team really takes a hand on attack, and this time it's been quite close. I mean, I would really expect a 3-3 to come out of this for both teams to be just as strong on defense and attack right here. So I'm hoping we'll get some overtimes maybe. Not just yet, as we do this time see the attackers of Secret once again take that top 4 control. They're looking to attack open once more, and this is a site that we've seen come out from cowana quite a few times. They've won it once and lost it once so far. Now once again they're giving up that top 4 control quite quickly. At least for Benja, he's already dropped downstairs, and Gorgona's in a quite sneaky position. I don't think the attackers are necessarily expecting him to be here. He's on the lookout for drones. And on his right side, he's also got a Banshee, which will give him some kind of a sound cue if any of the players of Secret decides to push into that generous hallway.
Well, Ben just caught on the drone, and he's going to pull himself away, but it's, oh no, an almost tragic fate that becomes even more tragic. That was a gamble and a gambit, but it's not an easy place to escape from if they know that you're there. There's no quick drop and route out of there, and well, there's a route through. Sloth continues the role he's been able to play so far in this game, which most importantly is showing up, because although he is the wonder kid we touted before, Benja hasn't quite been able to dig into this fight so far, whether it's Bank or whether it's just the way Secret are playing. It's been a bit tricky for a kid who is able to pull so many important rounds earlier versus Eminem.
Yeah, and that's what you said. Like, oh, it was really due to Benja having a really good day so far. So I was expecting him to go massive already. Well, he's yet to find a kill. So maybe this round will be the round where Benja finally finds a kill and helps his team towards another round 1. Once again, Sloth finds himself all the way downstairs. He's now hiding in a position, but has that Vector where he's been so lethal with before. He didn't get quite a few kills with that earlier on into this game. But Comfy now looking to contest a printer window, but Benja isn't aware of that. Still manages to escape with that shotgun, and that nade is not going to do a lot of damage right now.
He's aware of it, but now unfortunately not, as the drone got destroyed by the grenade as well. Benja had already pulled away. I think he sensed the danger sign on the far side, and well, there's no point losing your life at this. However, the hatch open underneath. A great C4 has great results. That's 2 for 2 on C4s. The Iana has popped 2. And they retake their mantle just here on the close swing, and it puts them in this awkward position. Once again, I talked about this idea of chasing these players, but at this point, when they're on the site, well, you kind of have to. 15 seconds, and they find themselves in this tricky situation. They've got to throw themselves onto site, take a hot drop with the hatch, as that's the only place the diffuser is. They go down, but so do a handful of players. It's a Secret in the middle with nowhere else to go but a third cowana round.
Yes, and I think this round here was a very important round for Benja. I definitely love this positioning all throughout this round, because we did see him around the printer window. He's getting spotted out by the players of Secret. Then the players of Secret actually waste 2 grenades to try and get him out. With one of those grenades, they actually destroyed one of their own drones, and that second grenade didn't do any damage to Benja either. So he managed to escape. He's in a completely new position, goes for the C4 on the hatch right above him, because he's probably got the sound cue that someone was moving right about him. What's the call that Secret's going to give? Oh, he's right under the hatch with a C4. And then Benja goes for a complete relocation, very close to that printer window where they spotted him earlier, but they'll definitely not expect him to be there.
cowana have done very well so far in this game. If they're able to pull an even half, I still think that's a success story for them. And yeah, it's their map and it's their place to bring that sort of pressure, but at the same time, you've got to look at it in the grand scheme of the tournament of itself. It is obviously the last game today. Either of these two teams are playing, but they've had to warm up on the first one. They know each other well from the previous times they've hit head, and cowana has always came out on top the 3 previous engagements. And sure, we've seen slightly different rosters from both teams, and we've seen a player who is now playing on Secret and Kendra that's been on both teams, but it's still this important conversation of how much of a mental game are they going to win if they can not only take this first map, but take it well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the fact that Secret doesn't have that much of a great attack in half as they had in their game versus Vitality will definitely do something to their mental too. They were really able to get a good foot into the match when they got that great attack in half on Bank earlier on today, but that's not the case today. The best they can get out of this one is a 3-3 split. It still isn't ideal, but cowana, a 4-2 split for them would be more preferable, obviously. Once again, we see players are playing on the northern windows. It's like a standard guide that we see Gomfi do every single round.
Gets
on
the
the
job
windows.
done.
Yeah, gets the castle barricades, gets the control, make sure he drones his players in above, gets the position of slot, for example. From there on, they take it further. But that top 4 control seems to be an essential thing, and the first thing that Secret keeps on trying to get every single round.
Oh, they're concerned about their mecha drones this time. There was the ping that came out quite early, and obviously it was the round winner last time round, so it might put them into a little bit more of an intent to destroy here. The ping on the mirror window, you knew it was going to be played there, but it's not an easy drive to get a drone close enough to deal some damage. They need to apply some pressure, bring that mirror's attention away, but in the meantime, Sloth is doing everything that he can to take some attention of himself. Kendrew goes down. He's able to keep pushing himself into double figures here, and although we haven't seen every player of cowana step up, and some only stepping up in the past couple of rounds, he sure is a huge driving force.
And this is very unfortunate to lose your single heart breacher so early on into the round. I reckon it'd be more important to have a heart breacher on a round like open area attack. This time you'll still want it to get like some reinforced walls away to go for a plan in CEO, for example. But that will not happen this round because it was Kendrew to pick picked off first. We talked about the importance of Kendrew having a good game to kind of pull his team through. Well, he's going 5-5, not necessarily great or bad to begin with, but this does stop Secret in their push or their attempt to take this top 4 control because they still haven't fully gotten it. They're going to get the kill onto Packbull, another one onto Slebin, and now they only find 2 players on the side of Secret against 5 of cowana.
They're sort of losing a bit of a grasp and a handle on where all these approaches are coming from, and as Gomfi tries to find his way up the main stairs, it's another body lost. Keenan, the last in there, just aware of where he is as he is to them, and with 30 seconds and a cold diffuser and 5 bodies to go through, it's got to be something exceptional, but it's the flawless response as we find it all locking out here. 4-2 in the half, and that gives cowana a little bit of metal and a little bit of mental to bring themselves into it, because although it's been a good showing for them so far, it's really been Sloth painting the boards, and you're wondering what they're going to be able to step up, because that single player on the attack, if they're failing that entry role, where do you go from there?
Yeah, I think if you look back at this defensive half on cowana, something that really helped them as well is their mirror pick every single time, or most of the rounds. We did see Sloth quite often on that mirror role as well, but you have a lot of information, a lot of area denial that you keep on bringing out, and this is maybe what helped them to try and stop Secret from constantly having a really, really good roam clear. We do know from the last game that Secret doesn't really roam that much on this map. They're more prone to have a horizontal roam than a vertical roam, but cowana doesn't have access to that jackal either, so tracking down these defenders and where they might be or where they might hide will be a lot more difficult. They do bring the Finka, something we didn't really see on the side of Secret, so it's going to give some health boost, and obviously Nate and a Gone 6.
I know it's a little bit late in the water to sort of proposition things that I felt were missing from the Secret attack, but you know who I sort of thought was missing from the Secret attack?
Well?
Zero. He played a fair bit earlier as well in the hands of Packbull, and it was great. They utilized the information so well. They're able to sort of catch the traps. You hope to see him back in sort of force on Chalet, which is fair. If there's a map where he might get removed just as someone who's very strong on the map, it will be there. But I think that little bit of edge, that little bit of understanding and know-how might have helped them a little bit to not entirely win the firefights they lost, but just put a little bit more pressure onto cowana that they might not know about.
And Secret's got a quite different defensive setup for this half as well, because you see cowana constantly play a Meister to get a lot of information with. Well, this time it's the Mozzie Pest coming out on the side of Comfy, where he can really capture some drones with and get some information, because there isn't anything else than that, and a bulletproof camera that you can get some information with for your team, and obviously the default chems. One of those Mozzie Pests now being spotted out, as Sloth is also being droned in on the top floor. But like I said, Secret doesn't really roam a lot upstairs. They like to do a horizontal roam, so this take off that top floor should go quite easy, quite swift for the players of cowana.
Well, there they are, just popping that second canister, so it becomes an eye line more than anything else. They want to make sure that they can have that backbone all locked off. It's a big bit of rotate. And if you're doing this big roam clear, you know that they're going to have to force their way through. But, oh, what's this? Everyone's already generally made their way back down to site. So they're sort of doing this infrastructure work that is that default taken approach. There is one player that's close to loose, which is the top of blue, which you're still looking at an extension of the site itself. It's a big hold, and they're going to make sure they can lock it off. I'm curious now if cowana's going to pay it as much attention as Vitality did, because last time we saw Packbull in this position on the opener, he wasted almost 2.5 minutes of the time of the Vitality approach. cowana aren't playing that game.
Yes, it was really good how they used just smoke in combination with my magnets to just make sure they could not face check or push those blue stars at all. I do think cowana has seen that, or at least knows about this, and tries to go for a completely different attack or approach. They're going to get some hatches open and also the hatch in lobby, so if this is going to be solely hatch drops onto the site, well, Packbull still feels a little bit of pressure coming from that blue star, so he's got one of those wasted smoke cannons, as you could say. One of the players of cowana is currently around the blue stairs. It's Grizzly that's closest, but well, at this range he's not going to get affected by that smoke canister whatsoever. Packbull's already used his second one.
Well, now, what are you going to do with the time that you've got left? Every player's still on the board, the longest we've had it in this team's showdown so far, and to be honest, it's not the first time Secret have done this today. They were able to take the victory last time, but it came down to some battling back of French resilience as they just tried to fire their way through onto site. cowana gets the opener and the drop as they put the pressure onto the back of the green gold vault. It is now suddenly Sloth who's trying to drive their way through too, and here they're biting on every single side. Hopped in the big double window, and Benja's the first to suffer, but suddenly it's just Sleben. They're going to try and get a plant on the opposite side. Here all around you, Sleben. And cowana, with 30 seconds left, do what Vitality earlier could not. Flood the site and entirely wash out Secret.
Yeah, exactly. The players around Vault got so pressured from that hatch drop and all the nades tossing around that they really had to escape there. It really looked like cowana was putting a lot of pressure on those last remaining players, and while they kind of avoided having to go through the blue stairs, you did see Packbull use a lot of utility there. Honestly, quite unfortunate if you already use it and not really any pressures coming from those blue stairs just yet. So it wasn't really able to put a lot of effort into that, or get a lot of things out of it, basically. Meanwhile, cowana just pushed something completely different. So you said, I mean, 40 minutes is not enough to completely analyze a game, but I reckon they did learn from what Vitality tried to do against Team Secret.
I think one of the big things there, and as I sort of pulled it out, was I commented on the Selma that got popped open and why that's a default take and a default approach. The reason that these takes a default is exactly the result that happened, because they worked out where they needed to go. They worked out what they wanted to put pressure on, and the groundwork had already been done. They'd already started putting pressure onto green, which is the bottom of the white stairs. They'd already opened up the hatch around the main and the gold side. They played a hand, which is, well, we're going to steady across, as they were also opening the top of square down towards blue as if they were doing a blue approach. It was multi-possibilities. And if we learn anything from Marvel films, if there's multiple possibilities, they'll make a mint out of it.
I think that's the most important thing you mentioned. If you have multiple possibilities to actually enter a site, you have a lot of things to choose between. So if you find yourself stumbling your toe against one of them and seeing that it's definitely not going to work out, you still have some other options to pick from. And that is exactly what worked out well for cowana this time. Like you mentioned, their standard setup with the peaky hole on the long hallway and all those prep hatches and everything gave them a lot of opportunities to pick something else. Well, you know how that joke goes in the Twitch chat about like, oh, my son really wants to learn how to throw?
Yeah, don't learn from cowana.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, He has other skills, thankfully. And to be honest, it took a while for him to start demonstrating in this game. And that was my big fear with cowana coming over onto the attack, is what we'd seen from Secret was, okay, they were a little bit on the back foot, but all of them had at least had a little bit of a presence on the game, apart from Gomfi generally, but still 4 firing over 2 from the side of cowana, and although Sloth is having a hell of a performance, you still want to have that moment of, come on, let's get round, and Sloth's kept that pace. You cannot deny he's on 16-3. He's having a hell of a game, but Gorgona getting a couple more bodies, Grizzly as well. These names that are synonymous with cowana's success stories, you want to see them start to get a taste here on attack.
Yeah, definitely, like you mentioned. Of course, we put out Benja as the player to watch, so being able to step up further on into this game would be a really good thing to see either. But cowana only need 2 more rounds to close out this first map. Let me remind you that it is their map pick, so they are supposed to win this. At least that is what you would hope for. Sloth has gained a lot of map control. He was being drawn in by his teammates. Already cleared the entire top floor and has found himself all the way around on that middle floor. Side is also there, and he's got the Maverick, so that triple ball in admin is something he would know what to do with.
A little bit of quiet, a little bit of a breath as Sloth toys with the idea of opening up that wall, but look at how close it is to sight. He wants to ensure that the rest of his team are in a position to be able to apply some pressure alongside. He expects to try and be caught from anybody that might swing it over, but instead of a singular bit of hard destruction, he's going to burn his way through. Not the best I've seen Sloth, but it gets the job done, and that's the important end part, is you now have this firing line down through the middle. You're now isolating the players that are inside open, and once again, we've talked about the importance of these hard walls. This is them at their most important now. A big blood and flood of flashes that don't quite hit the marks. They go over the top. Benja's the first to go down, and it's the Finker as well. So you're waiting for the chance of potentially a pickup here, but with everything else that needs to be done, it sprays over the top, and Gorgona getting the call. Benja finally gets themselves back to standing, and here with 10 seconds, it's the same thing we complained about before, but look at Kendrew, look at 1. Is he going for 2? He can't quite get it, he just misses, but all the time gone. They've got to try and fly and flood their way into sight. Anarchic wants to find a soft spot to stick, holds F, has some cover. Slevin tries to pop over the top and just find it. cowana!
How did they win that? They were not supposed to win it. If you look at how the round literally turned out, they had no control of the site whatsoever. It was Sloth that only opened up a little bit of a hole towards admin to toss some nades through and cut off any rotations, but that was all they had, or what it seemed to have, because they did have top 4 control and some lines of sight, but, well, that was it. And then we had a player from Secret also coming back up the blue stairs. They were so not aware of this happening, and he was almost able to pick up 2 kills there. That would have been huge for them.
It's so tricky. It's so tricky right now for Secret because, okay, you're going into a map that you expect to generally do worse on because it's their map. It's where cowana want to have this fight, and you've already played it once today, and to be fair, you won it. You had a great pressure and presence against your opponents here, but then it was your choice to go there. It was your choice to drive there. You have some preference. Things are going away from you. However, this is the worry that I talked about before, and that's why Secret is taking their time out now, is
ban on that next map, and that would make it a lot harder for Secret to play like they usually do and to shine where they do most, to clear out Rome and everything. We know they had a really strong attack in half. Their defensive half was not that good, and, well, it shows here once again how the defensive half isn't starting off that well, but I'm seeing a lot of limitations now.
I think generally what I like from Secret on Chalet, which I'll get a little bit more in depth to when we eventually get there, is how that map plays into good information games. But to be fair, here, Secret said they haven't quite been able to have a handle on that, so you hope that they can at least have a clean slate if they don't pull off what seemingly right now feels a little bit impossible, almost like cowana getting the round win on the previous one. It took a lot of courage to throw themselves into the site with that little amount of time left, especially with the positioning of Kendrew. If Kendrew hadn't gone wide onto the swing there on the top of blue, it could have been a different round. But that's Siege. Siege is a story of coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Yeah.
Didn't it?
2 seconds make a really big difference. If
Exactly.
you wait 2 seconds longer, then yeah. I'm really curious. We've seen Packbull every single time he's defended this side. We've seen him on top of the blue stairs without a shield, but with a lot of utility. And these smoke canisters just hold half his position onto the blue stairs. Last time we saw cowana attack this, they faked going for a blue take. They opened up the vertical lines of sight. They put a little bit of pressure in, and they said, like, nah, we're not going to do this. We're going to go open up patches. We're going to go somewhere else. Still, they keep investing Packbull right on top of those blue stairs. So thinking maybe cowana is actually going to continue pushing blue stairs this time, but look at this. Is something we've seen every single round so far. Sloth on the square, top stairs, being drawn in by his teammates, gaining a lot of top floor control. No one of Secret really to defend. I mean, like you said, it's a bottom floor, so you don't necessarily need to have someone on the very top floor, but I do hope they have some presses on the middle floor to stop Sloth from gaining map control like a train.
Now it's trying to see if they can find the angle here down on the bottom of the white stairs towards that ominous green light on the corner, but it doesn't quite mean go just yet. They're going to hold off and hold on and wait for the swing to come round. Just see some feet, and viewers at home, if you missed the difference there of pixels, I don't blame you. It takes a lot of trained eyes to note and smell the difference there that came through, but it wasn't quite enough to get the catch. Kendrew, he's playing himself in a position where he could cause some trouble, but it's, again, with that opener above him, something that's a lot riskier than it was last time. That hatch to his right is locked. Even if he looped around, he's got to try and hit white stairs, and he knows the pressure's coming through. That might be one he can hop through, though, and he's hoping that they do that. Is that a reveal, or is that just a door? Oh, it was a reveal.
Oh no, that's a good opening pick though, with cowana with a nade onto Kendrew. It's the Jaeger. Always quite ironic, I would say, if a Jaeger finds his death because of a grenade, because he literally has kind of stops grenades, but obviously didn't have one in that elevator there. One of the players of Secret being taken out, puts him on the back foot though. Backball still holding on dearly onto the top of the blue stairs, but not a player of cowana near him at all. They're still focusing once again on all these hatches, on gaining control on other parts of the map, rather than the blue stairs, even though two players are now slowly approaching that blue stairs and joining it out.
Well, the drone goes by, but Backball was happy to sort of say, come at me, or he was waiting for what was more likely the inevitable swing round. He knows cowana like to try and drone and drop their way through, and as everything starts to pop, look at the time. 20 seconds, and cowana has to try and flood their way through once again. They've done this before. Can they do it once more? Well, the opener is no, as cowana goes down, but Sloth and Slevin find one apiece. It's another body inside the site. Keenan does a bit of important gunplay there, and they're going to see if they can get that diffuser down. An Arkic, a handful of seconds. Grizzly, two angles to try and cover from it. To spray round onto the first and gold. It's back on the other side. Grizzly gets the first. The diffuser somehow hits the ground. It's an Arkic. Pushes them into a 1 versus 1. Gets the Banshee. He's going to pull himself away and finds a second to breathe. The big opener is the hop over the top. Gonfi, no C4, and not many other kills either in his pocket. He's going to see if he can bait a bit of this play. The flashes are going to be the burst and the burnt of information. It's an Arkic that locks off the opener for cowana.
Yeah, that's a 7-2 scoreline on their first map. Let me remind you that it was in fact their map pick, so you are more likely to win it, but a 7-2 scoreline is really convincing. That means they've only lost 2 rounds, and those 2 rounds were only on their defending half. They've managed to win all of their attacking rounds whenever this switch happened. And that's a very, very solid performance. Look at Sloth going 19 in 4.